Hey, good morning, everyone. Tractorman 44 here. Hey, today we're running over to my brother-in-law, my wife's sister's house. He's remodeling his bathroom, and he needs to have a receptacle moved about an inch to one side or another to get out from behind a new vanity. And also, they want to change a couple of light switches to change color on the light switches, as I understand. So we're going to go down and see what we get into. It should be simple relocating the receptacle if the receptacle is on the correct side of the stud. If it's on the wrong side of the stud, we're going to have some problems. And like I said, the missus is going to go along so she can visit with her sister, and it's her idea to make a video, so she's got to be included in this. So
and share the warmth.
Yep. Let's say something nice.
Something nice.
Okay, she said something nice, so we're on our way, guys. As typical, about halfway through the hardest part of the project before I remembered that I was doing a video. But essentially what we're doing is, see this cabinet right here sitting on top of the new vanity. This cabinet right here has to go against this wall. Well, the depth of this cabinet actually intersects the old location of that receptacle right here about halfway. So the stud is definitely on the wrong side. So what we're doing is we're literally cutting out and notching over as far as we need to go with the receptacle to clear the cabinet. And then I got to clean this out, smooth this up at the depth of the new receptacle box. And we're literally going to screw new screws through the back of the receptacle box right straight into that stud. And hopefully it'll end up reasonably close to flush so that he can go ahead and fix it with drywall mud. By the way, the tools of choice is this Makita, whatever they call this fancy new gizmo here. I really, really like it. As well as a wood chisel, a hammer, and a couple of screwdrivers to knock that stuff out of there. So actually we ended up being quite lucky. We were able to go ahead and recess that stud back just the amount that we needed to do. And he's either going to get a replacement cover that'll cover this whole opening, if they even make one. I don't know that they do, but if not, he's going to put a plug back in here, fill that in with drywall, and have that all sanded down, ready for the cabinet to be installed. At the same time, we went ahead and replaced the both switches to the newer color that they wanted. So that's it in a nutshell. All we got now is a mess to clean up, and we have a happy brother-in-law.
And he sent me a picture, and as it turned out, I measured reasonably accurately, and he didn't even have to do any trim.
You know, guys, we're talking about light switches. Now, this was just a single pole light switch, or pair of light switches up there in the bathroom for my brother and sister-in-law. But the missus seemed to think that maybe a person might be interested in three-way switches and how a three-way switch works. So here, let's take a quick look here. A three-way switch controls a light from two different locations. So that means you have to have multiple wires or conductors going to the location of the light, typically. So this is a funny looking light. Let's say this is a light right here, and this is the round box that the light is mounted in. And you have to supply 110 volts to the circuit. So you can either supply 110 volts to the actual light switch itself, the light box itself, or you can feed a switch box hot and feed the power out of that. So let's just, for the heck of it, let's feed the switch box hot. This is going to be a switch box, and inside a three-way light switch, there's going to be 3 terminals on it. You're going to have an off-colored one, a bronze, and 2 chrome. Okay, and the switch is going to be in one position or the other. So you have another light switch over here that also is going to have 3 terminals on it, and the switch is going to be in one position or the other. We just take a 110 volt power supply, and let's just feed 110 volts into the box right here. This is going to be a black and a white 110 volt power supply. Let's just call it 110 volt. So let's go ahead and call this one N for neutral and this one H for hot. Okay? So you know, with the three-way switches, you have 3 conductors in the wires. It's usually 3 14 with a ground. Sometimes there are 3 12s with a ground. But there's a red, white, and a black. So automatically, when you have 2 three-way switches, you're more than likely going to use the actual light fixture as the junction box. So the 3 wires that go to these switches are actually going to end up at the junction box where the light is. So what you need to do, first thing, is just solve a big issue, is take the reds and the whites, this being a splice or a wire nut. Take the reds, we just call this a R and a W, call this a R and a W, and connect 2 terminals, the 2 opposing terminals from the brass screw, with the red and the white, tie them together, to the red and white from the other two screws. So you take your third wire in the bundle, which is unfortunately it's going to be black, and it's actually going to tie onto the neutral right here on your 110 volts coming in. That black wire is going to go up here and it's going to tie onto one of the wires on the light. The black one from the other bundle is going to come up to here. I'm going to call this black. And it's going to tie right onto the black side of the light fixture. You can see you have power on the circuit and the switch is in this position right here. It follows this runner, the white runner, comes down to here and stops right there because that switch is opened. So what you do is you close that switch right there. Now the hot power is going to come down this runner, go through that closed switch, come up here black, and feed the light fixture hot on the black wire, turning the light on, and then the neutral, or the other side of the light, is going to follow the black wire. That's why I said unfortunately a minute ago. It's going to follow the black wire down to the white neutral in the 110 volt power supply coming into the switch box. Now you're not supposed to have a black neutral, and in the vast majority of the cases you won't have a black neutral. But in certain situations, I think it's acceptable. You have to check with somebody that's a little more knowledgeable than I am. But in a particular case like this, it's perfectly acceptable, as I understand. Because the hot wire is coming in to feed this switch hot. It goes through the runners, turns the light on, and comes back down the black on the neutral to go back. So then, whenever you leave this room, you open this light switch up, you open this up, and close it over there, and you just turn the light off because now you broke the circuit. So you come over to this room and you go out that door or come in that door. Now the light comes back on because the switch is in the opposite position there, switch is in the opposite position there, and so the voltage will follow the other runner down to the other switch that's been switched in position and go right back up and turn the light back on again, and that's the way it works. Now just for the heck of it, I changed it around and I made the neutral down here that you feed the three-way switch with, and I made the hot, this one up here. The reason you do not want to do that is because now with the switch in either position, it doesn't matter. You now have a hot 110 volt wire on the black up at the light fixture. Okay, now it's not going to go on because the neutral is broken by one or the other of the three-way switches, but you're feeding that light fixture hot all the time. So whenever your unsuspecting individual is up there working on the light fixture, he's actually got potential right there on that black wire if you wire the hot directly up to the light. You definitely do not want to do that. So you make your neutral there and your hot here. You feed your switch hot, and your neutral, unfortunately, is fed back down on the black wire on this 3-wire bundle. Here's a simpler way of looking at it. Here's your 3 terminals on your 2 3-way switches. These are your runners. This is your brass screw. This is your brass screw. Okay, take your runners and just connect the runners. Now you know and I know they have to go up to a junction box or whatever, but connect your runners. Okay, now here's your neutral. Bring your neutral right over to the white on the light fixture. And your hot is dangling here, so the 3rd wire from here actually goes up and picks up the hot right there, or allows the hot to send itself down to here, and then it comes over to this one here, and the 3rd will go up here just like that right there. So what happens now is if the switch is in that position, okay, the hot power comes in, feeds the switch hot, goes through this runner right here, and depending on the position of this switch, if the switch is in that position, it's going to light that light bulb and go right back out neutral just like that. That's just a simpler way of looking at exactly the same thing. Well guys, like I said while I was in their bathroom, it's just another job that worked out pretty well. Now, you know, you really don't think about how long it takes to relocate something like that, and it depends so much on how it's installed, or where it's installed at, or what's behind that wall that you're trying to get to. They have those little things that you can, I guess it's a wall bot. I don't have anything like that at all, but as soon as you take the cover off, you can see what side of stud the receptacle is mounted on, or the light switch or whatever, and then you have to determine what it is that you need to do. None of these problems are unsurmountable. You have to have just the basic understanding of electricity, and if you don't, definitely don't do it. You know, because believe it or not, there are more people killed every day in the nation with 110 volt than there is with all the other voltages combined. That's simply because people have the tendency to believe, well, it's only 110 volts, it's only going to tickle me, where in fact it will kill you. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It doesn't take but just a percentage, just a small percentage of an amp. I think it's a tenth of an amp will actually kill you, or has the potential for killing you. So and the reason that 110 volts is the one that kills most people is because anything above 110 or normal 220 240 volts single phase is typically done by a professional, an electrician or somebody at least that's trained, whether it's a union or a non-union guy. So they understand what to do and what not to do. And so the higher voltages very seldom kill people. It happens too. Fortunately, not every single day and not anywhere near as much as 110 volt. I mean, you got people with swimming pools. I've seen videos before with people using an electric drill screwing on a deck while they're standing inside their filled swimming pool, like a backyard swimming pool. It's like, dude, you are really like smoking a cigarette sitting on a box of dynamite. It's just a hazard, and people need to understand, that what they're dealing with. And if you don't feel competent and capable of it, don't even mess with it. Call some dummy like me to come over and help you out, or a professional that's trained, in the art of electrical. I just kind of know what not to touch and what you can touch and when you can touch it. So that having been said, could have put a lot more of it on film, but it was kind of aggravating with that cabinet right there by my shoulder. I had to lean over sideways and work on that, so it was a little bit difficult. So I apologize for that, but I'm making up for it by talking too much. So at any rate, another project reasonably well done. And you know what? This is Tractor Man 44. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'm out of here, guys. I even got the missus back home. She's inside cooking me a little bit of lunch. What do you think of that?